Contestants there included massive creators like Addison Rae, Bretman Rock, KSI, Sophia Nygaard, Jaden Animations, and of course 19 others, with Charlie and Dixie D'Amelio ultimately being declared the winners, which ultimately resulted in controversy. You had a lot of people not happy, some saying that they cheated, and this in part because most all the other creators were there by themselves. You had Dixie and Charlie able to be there as a team, and then they also brought their parents along with them, though only Dixie competed in the final round of trivia against comic book artist and YouTuber ZHC. But still, many felt that these 4-on-1 matchups just were not fair, and some even suggested that there may have been some cheating going on through the use of phones or people off camera. Now, eventually, we did see MrBeast tweet out and try to defuse the situation, saying, "I see some people mad that I let multiple people compete on a single team in the trivia tournament. Honestly, the tournament was just for fun and to bring the community together, and I'd appreciate if you were to get mad at anyone, get mad at me. It was my decision, lol. The criticism is noted, and I'll definitely keep all the teams the same size next time, 100% my bad." Which is also a sentiment we saw a number of the other creators express, that this was all just for fun.
Asbestos causes cancer. Yeah, shit. Asbestos can be found close by, sometimes in the talcum powder. Back in the 1940s and 50s, scientists linked asbestos with lung cancer. So it's just a risky product is what I'm getting at. Now, a lot of times when people get cancer, they don't really know the exact cause of it. I mean, it's hard to track down the single source of the cancer. There's some exceptions like smoking and asbestos. And since talc was full of asbestos, it was pretty easy to track it back to talc. So Johnson & Johnson uses a bunch of talc in their baby powder. So it was up to them to make sure, that there isn't a harmful amount of asbestos in there. Everyone's putting it on their babies. But here's the thing. In the early 1970s, Johnson & Johnson was testing their talc product and found asbestos. And some lab reports even called their levels of asbestos
route before you leave, and even while you're on your route, to see how you're doing. Click the link down below to check out abetterrouteplanner.com's premium version. Get a 30-day free trial. And we're sponsored by our friends at the solar-powered hotels in Schaumburg, Illinois, the Fairfield Inn and Suites by Marriott and the Town Place Suite Hotel right next door. They're both connected, they're both solar-powered, and they both have EV charging. All right, so we're going to unpack what happened on Battery Day. We're going to do it in 3 chapters. Chapter 1 is going to be a quick recap of the important things revealed, and remember, there were a lot of them. Chapter 2 is going to be what does this mean for Tesla, for the auto industry, and for you. And in Chapter 3, we're going to revisit the Osborne effect and why Battery Day is bigger than Elon let on. All right, so Drew Baglino, who is the Senior Vice President of Powertrain and Batteries at Tesla, he's been with Tesla since 2006. He was on stage with Elon following the shareholder meeting, which was held kind of like a drive-in movie. Yeah, if you didn't know what you were looking at, it would kind of
quality. And the fact that sperm count has declined by 50% in the last 50 years is pretty alarming.
And who are you?
I'm a toxicologist, but I'm also a mom.
What's a toxicologist?
So I study the basic science of poisons. How do chemicals interact with the cells in our bodies and how do they cause harm? But not only that, how do our cells defend themselves against these toxins?
Why did you choose to do toxicology? You know, you could have done anything with your life. You could have pursued anything.
I found it by accident. Was it really an accident, though? I don't know. I think I was led there. I think I've always been interested. I think I was meant to share this. And I think it brings up a lot of emotions for me because I've been personally impacted, but I think of how many millions of people around
the for being in the salt water. It was dressed in a long sleeve shirt, trousers, brown shoes. It had no identification on it at all. He was wearing a Rolex wristwatch. It showed a time and a date, the date being the 22nd. His pockets were turned out as if someone had got there before me and searched the pockets before me.
He might have fallen off a boat going up the channel, and we get an awful lot of boats going up the channel, but nobody was reported as missing at the time.
The well-preserved condition of the body suggested that it hadn't been in the sea for long. The post-mortem revealed several injuries, including a deep gash on his head.
When you're trawling a netting and you're lifting that trawl onto deck, there is a large possibility that
the United States pays more for drugs than any other country.
Drug prices are totally irrational. Something that should cost $2 often costs $300 because of the complicated relationship between insurance companies and pharmacies and coverage.
Millions of people get their prescription drugs from pharmacies like CVS, Walgreens, and Rite Aid.
I like to describe it as the pharmacist really being the most accessible healthcare professional. It's the last provider that most patients see before going home.
Those in the industry say maintaining a dynamic pharmaceutical delivery system helps the consumer save money.
Patients have a wide array of choices on which pharmacy they like to go to. They're likely going to go to the pharmacy that gives them the best experience and the lowest cost for their medications.
But nearly 1 in 4 Americans say it's difficult to afford their medications, according to a March 2019 poll by the Kaiser Family Foundation.
I'll do whatever it takes to help a consumer find a fair price.
They're profiting from what is fundamentally a broken system. It is fundamentally a deep problem we have.
The cancer had spread. We had to start the chemo back up immediately. He was no longer a candidate for the surgery that we had went to Houston to have. So yeah, that's where it put us where we are now.
And what do you say about the insurance company? What's your bottom line on that?
They put a price tag on my husband's life and decided that he was not worth it.
How do your children feel about it?
They don't actually like to talk about it. They don't like to think about that it could be possibly the insurance's fault that their dad died. It's just, it's too much. They're, my youngest was 13 when he was diagnosed. They're in shock. In some ways, these kids have had to mature 10 years beyond.
I did not ever imagine it could get worse than that, and on Ozempic it was worse. But worse than that even, not only was the pain much worse, like I said, which I didn't think was even possible, but I was also suddenly unable to always control myself, meaning on more than one occasion I pooped my literal pants. It's funny, but it's not funny, you know what I mean? In my shorts. Mind you all, friends, okay, this was the bare minimum dose. This is like the tiny little dose that you start off with before you work up to the therapeutic dose. So I believe I was on 0.25 at this time. And this was the reaction I had to the smallest dose possible. I keep thinking about Amberlynn Reed. She gets ripped apart on social media. I mean, 24 hours a day, somebody's making a video about her.